Y'all, Diddy done got his entire family in a hot mess. Cause it looks like the feds are after his kids, even his young girls. Say what now? Y'all know how Diddy got arrested by the feds a couple of days ago? Well, the full indictment documents were just released, and it turns out that the feds seized the passports of all Diddy's kids, and even his mom. And get this, it looks like Justin and Christian Combs are reading the writing on the wall, because after they showed up in court to support Diddy in his first court appearance, the streets are now saying that Justin and Christian are on the run because they know that the feds are coming for them next. Girl, this family is one big mess, but why are the feds bringing the young kids into this? And are Christian and Justin really guilty of some more shady stuff? Let's break this down. If you've been following Diddy's case since Cassie's lawsuit last year, then you already knew that it wasn't going to end well for him. But child, nobody could have expected that it would get this messy. The lawsuits that were filed were all civil lawsuits, so we didn't expect that civil charges would be brought against him, especially because the statute of limitations had passed on most of the cases. However, we found out that the feds had taken an interest in the case when they raided Diddy's homes in Miami and New York at the same time. They were reported to have seized cameras as well as hours and hours of video footage from Diddy's houses. That was when we knew for sure that he was in a hot mess, because Lil Rod already told us all about the messed up stuff that was in the footage. A federal officer spoke on this and said, "We believe that there is a disturbing history of We are responding to concrete, detailed, explicit allegations. This is not random. We didn't choose his name out of a hat. We had allegations that we're following up on." And speaking of Lil Rod, he was the first to tie Justin to Diddy's shenanigans, because in his lawsuit, he claimed that Justin's job was to allegedly solicit S-workers, young girls, to engage in freak-offs. So if you're wondering why fans think Justin is on the run, this is why. Because the freak-offs are a major part of the feds' charges against Diddy. And the last thing he wants is to wear matching jumpsuits with his daddy in prison. This goes for Christian as well, because he also got an SA charge of his own. An employee claimed that he tried to do bad things to her on a family holiday. The woman's name is Grace Omarka, and in a lawsuit, she claimed that Christian SA'd her on the Combs family yacht. She claimed that she was hired as a stewardess on the yacht that Diddy chartered a few days before New Year's Day in 2023. According to TMZ, Grace claimed that she was doing her job during the shindig, which she claims was advertised as a family-friendly excursion. And King came on, after which she claims he immediately became fixated on her, uncomfortably so. She alleges King had her take a shot of liquor, and she claims she immediately suspected it was Spike. But despite that, she was able to tell him to get off of her and leave her alone. She claims King was trying to kiss and her despite her protestations. She explained that after a brief tussle, she managed to break free from him. However, he then insisted she do her job and find him a place to sleep. Since it was a job, she had no choice but to comply and escort him to the theater area. But once they got there, he allegedly cornered her again. According to reports, King cornered her again and attempted to force her to perform oral sex on him. But she says she fought him off, and includes in the doc's photos of her forearm, where she claims was bruised in the altercation. Eventually, Omarka says she was able to escape, but claims to have suffered mentally and emotionally ever since. Yeah, Christian better run, because this is not looking good for him. And this time, he doesn't have daddy's money to save him, because daddy is in a little hot mess of his own at the moment. Anywho, the feds finally decided to move in on Diddy, and a few weeks ago, CNN reported that the feds has set up a grand jury to indict Diddy on charges ranging from hearing and a lot more. They said federal investigators are preparing to bring accusers of music mogul Sean Diddy Combs before a federal grand jury. Two sources familiar with the probe tell CNN, signaling the U.S. Justice Department is moving toward potentially seeking an indictment of Combs. They went on to say that possible witnesses have been notified by investigators that they could be brought in to testify in front of a federal grand jury in New York City, according to one source. Bringing individuals who have filed civil lawsuits against Combs before a grand jury will mark a significant escalation in the government's ongoing investigation involving the producer and Bad Boy Records founder. Well, the grand jury voted to indict Diddy, and he was arrested in New York. Everybody thought that he was going to get bail, but the court said psych and denied him bail, ordering him to be kept in custody until the trial. According to federal prosecutors, they're worried he will intimidate witnesses and obstruct the case if he's released on bond. Prosecutors also say Diddy's got the money money and the means to be a flight risk. And the feds say he had what appeared to be narcotics in his hotel room when he was arrested. He even offered to pay a $50 million bond and home detention, but the judge said no. We now have the details of the bail conditions that Diddy offered, and y'all, it's wild. According to reports, Diddy's lawyer proposed bail on these conditions: a $50 million bond, co-signed by Sean Combs, his mother, his sister, the mother of his oldest daughter, and his 3 adult sons. He also proposed that the bond would be secured by the equity in Mr. Combs' residence located at 2 West Star Island in Miami, Florida. The appraised value of the home is about $48 million. The home is unencumbered. In anticipation of this bail hearing, on August 20, 2024, Mr. Combs paid off the remaining mortgage of about $18 million so that the home could be used to secure a bond and be free of a mortgage. The document went on to say that the bond will also be secured by the equity of Mr. Combs' mother's home located at 450 Alton Road in Miami, Florida, and that Mr. Combs' travel will be restricted to the Southern District of Florida and the Southern District of New York to attend court, meet with his counsel, and attend medical appointments, which we will address to the court in a separate sealed submission, as well as the Eastern District of New York or the District of New Jersey, only to the extent that his travel to and from New York involves an airport in those districts. The document then revealed that Diddy has submitted his passport to the authorities in April of this year, but it didn't stop there. He also offered to submit his mom's and daughter's passport. It said the passports of the following family members who have already surrendered their passports to counsel after the raids on Mr. Combs' homes: Janice Combs, Chance Combs, Jesse Combs, Delilah Combs, and Love Combs. Child, even the baby. What did the baby do? It's wild that Diddy offered all this and he was still denied bail, and this tells us that the case is way more serious than the feds are telling us. It also doesn't help that reports are now claiming that multiple sources in the know are claiming that most of Diddy's minions are coming forward with new testimony and are snitching on him in exchange for immunity and reduced prison time.
My understanding is that there was a lot of individuals that were involved, and I think by looking at the indictment and seeing that only Sean Combs is the only defendant currently, who knows if that increases and it gets superseded with a different indictment, but currently there's only one defendant. My guess is that all of those individuals that could have been co-defendants or could have been co-conspirators or could have been involved in a RICO case have flipped on Sean Combs, and they're getting some sort of immunity.
What's really interesting is that Diddy conveniently paid off his mortgage just before the indictment hit. It kind of looks like he was cleaning house and preparing for this because he knew what was coming. I mean, if his lawyers were smart, they probably already knew this was coming and they prepped him on what to do. It kind of explains why he put his $70 million LA mansion up for sale, because he needed to raise money urgently to pay off the mortgage and put a couple of things in place before things blew up. If you're wondering why the kids had to give up their passports, this fan gave an interesting perspective on things, saying they're likely the names on offshore accounts. They don't want him moving money overseas or paying people off or silencing people with the money in offshore accounts. Can't get to the accounts without going there because large sums withdrawals need to be in person to initiate. This is an interesting perspective and it does kind of explain things. But while the girls are safe, we can't say the same for Christian and Justin, because if the streets are right and they're on the run, it could mean a lot of trouble for them. Fans commented, Diddy's sons can be both victims and perpetrators. You can mourn for the little boys who didn't have a choice while holding the men they are today accountable if they are involved. It's over for Diddy. The only people I feel bad for are his daughters. His sons clearly was partaking in some of the foolishness. His mother raised a disgusting and despicable man and chose to look the other way as long as her bills were paid. And no one has mentioned it, but how come Diddy's sons get to keep their passport and roam free and plot while all the women, especially the innocent daughters, have their passports revoked and being hawk-eyed? King and Justin need to be looked at too, especially King. This is a hot mess, but let me know how y'all feel about this and then check out this next video.